Another week, another fights. Welcome to UFC Best Bets as the UFC heads to Atlanta for Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley in a very important welterweight bout at 170 pounds. Welcome to Best Bets, everyone. I am your host, Ian Parker, as we go and break down these fights from a gambling perspective. Now, before we get into this week's fights in Atlanta, let's do a little recap of UFC 316. It was an up and down one. It was a very fun night. We could have had a great night, but the judges and Patchy Mix not showing up definitely hurt me. Patchy Mix, my big play. I can't believe he no-showed. That took us back. Kayla Harrison to win the belt inside the distance. We hit it there. Pyfer over 1.5. Great. Luque and Holland, we missed by about 80 seconds. Sergey Spivak, that still breaks my heart. I thought he won. And then we hit our parlay. Not a great night. Could have been great, but that's betting. That's how it goes sometimes. Now, off to UFC Atlanta as we get into the main event. Now, when we talk about this main event, we keep talking about the theme of the welterweight division, and that is the changing of the guard. Can that happen this week with Kamaru Usman, the former champ, the former pound-for-pound king, putting his number 5 spot on the line against up-and-coming Joaquin Buckley, who has been on an absolute tear since entering the welterweight division? Now, look, Kamaru Usman at one point was untouchable, but since he's lost, he's been the exact opposite, and I think stylistically this is a terrible matchup for him. Buckley can defend takedowns, keep the fight on the feet, and between the two, he's the better striker with more power, more speed. Now, this line at minus 280 is a little high for me to just throw money on him straight, so let's get this number down. We're going to go with Joaquin Buckley to win and over 1.5 rounds. If you look at the method of victory odds, there's a lot of interesting props here. I think a lot of people are going to be on Buckley to win by knockout, and I don't blame you guys if you go down that route. We've seen Usman get knocked out. He does get hit a lot here. But if you wanted to go Usman, that number at decision is very interesting. We haven't seen Buckley go a full 5 rounds against someone like Usman before. However, I don't believe we are getting that same Kamaru Usman. I think we're going to get the same Joaquin Buckley that keeps getting better and better. I think he adds Kamaru Usman to his list of wins, puts himself into that top 5. And I think we may see a future champion in Joaquin Buckley. So for me, to get this fight, to get it playable, Joaquin Buckley and over 1.5 rounds is going to be my premium play this week. I'm confident he wins. Get those odds down. If he does finish, I think it goes a little bit deeper, and we get that at minus 137, a much better playable number. Now, on to the co-main event, Rose Namajunas versus Miranda Maverick. To me, this is a very intriguing fight for Rose. She has not really had that opportunity to fight someone this far back in the rankings since she started. Now, coming off the loss to Erin Blanchfield, it was a very strange loss. She won the first 2 rounds and somehow blew the last 3. I think she's fighting someone who is a lesser grappler, Miranda Maverick, striking a little bit better, but Rose should be the better fighter everywhere this fight goes. I think we're getting this number because of that loss, because of her age. And for me, I love Rose to win by decision. I love it so much, that's going to probably end up being, not probably, it is going to be my prop of the night. I'm also going to throw Rose as a little spoiler as one of the legs in my parlay here. I don't see her finishing Miranda Maverick. Maverick's defensively sound. She is a good wrestler, but Rose just has the experience, that striking output, and Maverick's been out for quite some time. I think this is a good opportunity for Rose to get a dominant decision win and continue her reign. So prop of the night, Rose by decision at minus 170. If that goes any higher, I would maybe just stay away at that point. But minus 170, I am still willing to play. Moving on to our next best bet, Hani Barcelos versus Cody Garbrandt. This is a really interesting number here. Barcelos' number keeps going up. At one point, he was minus 170, which I absolutely love. He's now minus 200. Coming off that win over Peyton Talbot, with Cody Garbrandt coming off that submission loss to Figueiredo. Look, do I think Barcelos can get a finish here? It's possible. But for Cody, the durability is usually a lot better. I'm going to go with Barcelos to win and over 1.5 rounds. I'm getting that minus 200 out to even money. Barcelos, I believe, is the better striker. I think Cody is so far past his prime. He doesn't know who he is anymore. Barcelos and over 1.5. So moving on now to the next fight. We are going to have, listen, this kid is an absolute stud in Abdul Malik against someone in Cody Brundage who, every time we count Cody out, he comes back and wins. However, I think this is where that stops. For Malik, these are two wrestlers with insane power. Malik's got that athleticism. I think he is an absolute beast. And I'm surprised we're getting this good of a number. For Malik to win in under 1.5 rounds, minus 161. That is definitely going to be one of my best bets. I think Malik gets this done in round 1. Cody does not have a good chin. If he can't get Malik down, he is in a lot of trouble. On to the next best bet. Hey, guys, you got to keep up. Without Brett here, I'm moving at super speed, giving you that information, and we're getting right to the point. We got Petroski and Shahbazyan, and if you guys watch this sport, you know how this is going to go. It's either Petroski by sub or Shahbazyan by knockout, and it's going to happen before that last bell rings. I'm going under 2.5 rounds. If you want to take it a step further, I think Edmund probably wins this by knockout. If he keeps this fight on the feet, much better striker, tremendous power, and under the tutelage of Eric Nixick and Extreme Couture, we're seeing a much different Edmund Shahbazyan, a much better Edmund Shahbazyan, and if this just stays on the feet, he gets this done, no problem. Now, last but not least, we got one more best bet for you. How can we not take Malcolm Wellmaker versus Chris Matinho? Look, Chris Matinho in his first dip in the UFC was tough. Lost to Sean O'Malley, got knocked out by Guido Canetti, and now he's taking another short notice fight against arguably one of the best prospects in the UFC, a knockout artist, and I'm getting under 1.5 rounds at minus 175. Wellmaker in his backyard in Atlanta against a short notice Moutinho, who is a punching bag, no disrespect. Give me Wellmaker to win. I mean, minus 2,500 should win, but under 1.5 rounds there. All right. After going through the best bets now, let's get to our parlay, starting with the long shot. Now, this week we're going with the famous title, The Cycle, a sub, a decision, and a knockout. Let's start off with Edmund Shahbazyan to win via KO or TKO at plus 135. Hani Barcelos, we saw against Peyton Talbot. The offensive wrestling was there against Cody with Figueiredo. We saw him get subbed. I think Barcelos could take the back here and do the same. And last but not least, Phil Rowe, who's an underdog, who I think should be the favorite in that fight to win by decision against Ann Lusa. We're getting plus 4,025 on a long shot parlay. Hey, if we hit that, that is a tremendous amount of fun right there and a big number going into next week. Moving on to Parker's parlay. We hit it last week. We're going to try and do it again this week, of course. And we're going to go a little chalky here, but Rose Namajunas over Miranda Maverick. Michael Chiesa over Court McGee. And Ricky Simone taking on Cameron Smugler, who's taking this fight on short notice. I expect Ricky Simone to wrestle his way to victory. We're getting plus 106. Not the most exciting. 3 favorites, even money. I will take it. All right. Guys, this has been a fun show. We got a lot of bets in there. Now, tune in this Saturday, UFC Atlanta. Tune in next week for UFC Best Bets as we do this every single week for every single card. This week, ESPN Plus, ESPN Saturday, 10 p.m. main card, Usman, Buckley. Does the changing of the new guard happen? I believe it does. We're going to find out. And for our last recap of my bets this week, take a look at the screen. We got a lot of best bets. We got our props. We got our parlays. We got 13.75 units risk. I'm hoping for a sweep here to cut that in half. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Brett and I will see you next week. Let's go.